Everyone. I'm so glad that you could make it tonight. It's really wonderful to be with you again. And tonight we're going to talk about respect and respectful behavior from our kids, and how to get that, and what to do when we don't get respectful behavior, when we get disrespectful behavior. So, hi, Hadar. So my name is Tina Kinard. I am a certified parent coach. I have graduate certification from Parent Coaching Institute and Parent Coaching International. And I live in the Boston area with my husband, and we have two grown children, a daughter who's 27 and a son who's 24, and they're both fully launched at this point. What an experience, to raise these kids. So I've been where you are now, and I had two very different children that require very different types of parenting at different times. So I love what I do. I love helping clients feel happier as parents and helping them develop the confidence so that they feel that they've got this. They can handle whatever life throws at them. I find that keeping an eye on the big picture and focusing on the positive can make a huge difference in terms of how you feel as a parent, and not just as a parent, as a person too. It can really help a lot. So if your child is older than 3 or younger than 23, I'm all in. Contact me for a session or a free consultation. I only work with parents. I don't work with children. And I love what I do. So I've been working with ParentGood app for over a year now, and I've loved meeting people from not just all over the country, but around the world. And I just am amazed by how wonderful and caring so many parents are, and they just love their kids to pieces. So why are these kids disrespectful sometimes? We're going to explore that today. We're tackling that challenge and how to finding out why it happens, finding out how to break that cycle, and then talk about strategies for building a calmer, more respectful connection with your kids in your home. I'll talk for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we will open up the floor for questions. I can't wait to hear what you want to ask me, and we'll explore more pieces of this with your questions. So when you write a question, feel free to write a question or unmute yourself when that time comes. I wanted to let you know that if you're interested in learning more about me, you can check out my profile on the ParentGood app, or you can go to my website, which is www.tinakinard, TinaKinard.com, tinakinard.com. All right, so let's talk about let's explore first some of the reasons why kids are disrespectful, because sometimes we don't stop to think why they might be acting this way. We just think we want it to stop, right? So we don't sometimes get curious enough because we have trouble with that distance. We feel affronted when they say something like, I hate you, or you're stupid, or something even worse, right? So first of all, we're like, wait a sec, you can't talk to me that way. But sometimes it's good to get curious and think, okay, why are they doing this? So sometimes kids act disrespectfully because they don't feel that they're treated respectfully. They don't feel seen by a teacher or a parent. And so they aren't given the enough opportunities to express their opinions about things, their feelings about things, and have those feelings and opinions be acknowledged. The teacher or the parent can certainly disagree with what the child is expressing, that's not the point. The point is to sit and listen and say, okay, I hear what you're saying. And you repeat it back to them. You're saying that you don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And I understand that you feel that way. I believe you feel that way. But this is what I expect from you right now. So that can be one reason. We're going to touch more on that in a minute, because I'm going to talk a little bit about parenting styles and how that can really play in big time to disrespectful behavior and what to do about it. Another reason why kids are disrespectful is that sometimes they're just reflecting back what they hear from others. So it could be that they hear their parents sometimes use some of these words to describe, maybe not to talk about other people in the house, but maybe to describe other people in their life, whether it's a boss or whether it's someone they work with, or whether it's a sibling, something like that. So they're thinking, oh, that's how they use, those are the words they use to describe this person. So I'm going to try that on too. Sometimes they are just trying out words that they hear. So they might not even know the definition of it, but they hear it somewhere and they notice that it got a big response. So they decide they're going to try it out. And the interesting thing is that they're trying it out at home on you because they feel safe doing that. So that's an opportunity for us to go, whoa, you just called me a schmuck. Do you know what a schmuck is? Do you know what that means? I'm saying the word schmuck because I used that word when I was a kid. And my mother just said, I wonder if you know what the definition of that word is. And as soon as she told me, I went, wow, I didn't think that's what it meant. I didn't mean that. So sometimes they're just trying out stuff. And Sheila, I see your question here. So I'm going to approach that in just a moment. I want to get through a little bit more before I do that. Another reason is that they're sometimes, especially with teenagers, but this can even happen with toddlers. It's so interesting to me how similar toddler behavior and teenager behavior, especially in the 13-year-old or, 3, 4, 13, 14, how similar it is. It's insane. But if you have toddlers, you might see some of this behavior later on when you have teenagers. So it's good that you're learning all of this now, and you might years from now go, okay, I got to revisit some of these strategies to get through this. So sometimes our kids are expressing a feeling more than an opinion. So instead of, for instance, if they say suddenly, I hate you, you will feel, assaulted, like, wait a second, I thought you loved me. I love you. But what they might really mean in that I hate you is everything feels so hard right now. And I just wish things were easier. And I wish you wouldn't ask me to do anything right now. And I have too much homework to do. And you just keep talking to me. And my best friend is mad at me. And it's just too much. So sometimes they just go straight to, I hate you, which they think means that you're just going to get out of their room. But what they really, really mean is things are hard right now. So one of the things to sit with that, and you can respond and go, wow, that's tough to hear. You have a lot of stuff going on right now, come find me if you want to talk, and leave it at that. We'll come back to that. So just let that percolate and see what you think about that idea. And then another reason for disrespectful behavior, this happens it's something to really keep an eye on, is sometimes kids get in a cycle of negative attention seeking. So they want attention. And sometimes with our busy lives and such, we're just not maybe finding ways or time to provide enough positive attention in ways that are meaningful to that child. And so they will go for the negative attention. In the absence of regular positive connections, they sometimes use disrespectful behavior as a sure way to get attention, because it always does. but it would be nice to break that. And so, so one way to do that is to, if we're going to try to eliminate the negative attention, we don't want to eliminate all attention. So we have to fill that with something else. So I would say, if you are, for instance, if you're having trouble around bedtime, and maybe your child is feeling like they didn't get enough, they didn't get enough of you, of the right kind of positive attention that they really maybe needed earlier in the day, or to feel really good about the end of their day. And so they act disrespectfully. They might just say no, or because it's going to be an opportunity to talk and sort of interact. It's just not a healthy, it's not a healthy cycle. It's not a healthy way to interact daily. And you don't want to do that either. So I'm going to leave that there for a second, because I want to move on a little more to understand sort of how parenting styles can affect our children's propensity to express disrespectful behavior. I also want to say that if you are experiencing that your child is expressing disrespectful behavior in school and at home, so they're disrespectful sort of across the board, inside their home, outside the home, with family, friends, students, teachers. If it's sort of universal, I think that's a red flag. I think that's something, that's when you can certainly make an appointment with me. It would be very interesting to break down the types of behaviors, what's happening when a child is disrespectful. Are there opportunities for them to apologize? Are there opportunities, or is there just punishment? And is there a chance for discipline, which is, discipline comes from the word disciple, to teach. And so discipline is often much more effective than punishment if it's kind of random. And certainly when our kids are disrespectful, I think that we can often jump to punishment because we're so affronted that we just want it to stop, and we want to get the last word. And we feel like we are responsible, that they have to stop this behavior because they can't go out in the real world like this. So I think that it's important to make that distinction between, is this happening universally, or what happens much more frequently is that they are keeping it together out in the real world. They're keeping it together at school, and they come home and they unload disrespectful behavior on us. Believe it or not, that is, it's more common, and it's actually not a bad sign, because then we know that our children do know how to act properly and respectfully out in the real world. We have to start to attend to how our kids treat us at home, and making sure that they have opportunities to talk about their feelings instead of just lashing out. Okay, so those are some of the reasons why kids act disrespectfully. I'm going to read Sheila's note here. How do you help your 6-year-old to stop having temper tantrums at home when he does not get what he wants? He now acts out in stores and restaurants with his mother. This is very, very typical. So 6-year-olds, I would want to know if there are changes, if there have been changes in the 6-year-old's life. I think since temper tantrums can be at 6-year-old is the cusp. They really, at 6, hopefully will start to learn some more control. This is the next step that I'm talking about here, about parenting styles. might help inform a little bit of this. Sheila, I hope you will reach out to me and request a free consultation, or if you want to dive right into a full hour, we could get so much done and unpack what's happening now that these temper tantrums are going outside. They're still happening with the mother, but they're happening outside of the home. So there are so many things that we can work on together to help alleviate that. Let me go on a little bit. If I have time, I'll come back, and maybe what you could do is unmute or give me another message and tell me a little more detail about what I'd like to know is, what happens, what leads into the tantrums. At 6 years old, we're hoping that our kids sort of outgrow regular tantrums. So I would love to work with you on this, and I'm confident that we could make some quick changes. All right, I'm going to go on now to the, I think it's important to talk about these 4 styles of parenting, because it can be, disrespectful behavior can be a result of the kind of parenting that you're practicing. And the kind of parenting that we practice really often comes from our own parenting. So it's really great if you have a partner that you're parenting with to talk about how you were parented as a child, how your partner was parented as a child, what you liked about the way you were parented, and what you'd like to not invite into the way that you want to raise your own family. There are the 4 different types. The one type that we fortunately don't see too often is the uninvolved or neglectful parent. And the reason why I'm dismissing that one a little bit right now is because the fact that all of you have made the time to come to this webinar and to learn about this indicates to me that you are not a neglectful parent. So let's put that to the side right now. Authoritarian parenting is a very high demand. We demand a lot. We expect a lot from our kids if we're an authoritarian parent, but we don't usually have as much responsiveness to our child's feelings or their needs, their opinions, or supporting their independent being. We sometimes, an authoritarian parent thinks of their child as a reflection of them. Therefore, they're embarrassed if the child is disrespectful and thinks that it's a reflection on them. They often too, they are more of the ilk of do as I say because I'm your parent. Do it. Why should you do it? Because I say so. And they're not as willing to get into the dialogue of explaining their expectations for the child and why it matters to them. Then there is the permissive or indulgent parent. And the permissive parent is more responsive than they are demanding. So they sort of want to be their child's best friend, and they feel responsible for their happiness, and it gets enmeshed. Who's responsible for whose happiness? There's murkiness that can develop there when attachment prevails over a healthy connection. That's about individuals and boosting your child's individual nature. Now, a permissive parent can also feel, well, no, my child, I'm letting my child just be. They are who they are. My child's not a reflection of me. My child is an independent person. But they're not making demands of that child or expectations. Let's put it that way. Really not demands as much as expectations. Like, listen, I expect you to have good manners. This is important to me as a parent. This is my parenting identity, is good manners. And that's what we're going to work on in our house. And I'll help you with that. But I want you to know that that's an expectation. Okay? So what can happen with these two, which are the polar ends of the parenting types, the authoritarian parent and the permissive parent, is that what happens sometimes with authoritarian parents is that kids will rebel from this, and sometimes the disrespectful behavior, they don't feel children of authoritarian parents don't feel heard so much. Sometimes they don't feel that their opinion matters, that they as an individual person in developing, they think their parent sees more that's wrong with them than what's working and what's right. They're not as responsive to the child's needs. And that's what I mentioned earlier as one of the causes of disrespectful behavior is when a child doesn't feel really seen or understood, or that the parent cares to learn what their opinion is about things. So then sometimes kids will act out, and it's out of anger often, the disrespectful behavior. Often too, the authoritarian parent might have very high expectations or high demands, but low responsiveness. So there might, again, not be quite enough positive attention happening. And what I mean by positive attention, the example of that is either is finding time to be together in a positive way, whether it's reading a book, going for, having the habit of taking the dog for a walk and seeing what kind of conversation comes up, asking the child, what do you think about this? Asking their opinion. So those, and when they do something that really surprises you, like, wow, that amazed, that's the way you use those colors on that drawing is just, it makes me so happy inside. Or whatever it is, an observation of them as a unique person. So those are some examples of positive attention. So the other side, the permissive parent, sometimes they have high attention to the child's needs, but not they don't have the high expectation. So there aren't boundaries that have been set early on about how to. This is what we expect. You go to school. This is your job. You go to school. I mean, this is what we're always going to expect from you. And if there's a problem with that, then we're going to have to deal with it. But this is what we expect. Or good manners. So I'm going to give that as an example too in just a minute. So authoritative parenting is the third or fourth one. We talked about the negligent parenting, but authoritative parenting is the one in the middle. Authoritative parenting is the bullseye. It's where we want to kind of come. We all go, and it's not. It's a continuum, right? It's fluid. It's not static. So we can sometimes find ourselves becoming more authoritarian because we're afraid of our child's behavior and they're acting out and they're being disrespectful. And so we get very tough with them. This can backfire. But it's a natural response. So, and then sometimes we're more permissive, and we're not setting, maybe something happens in the family that's a little more tragic and we have to have a little more leeway to let the child be. But that sometimes isn't so great either, because lacking the boundaries makes a child feel unsafe. So authoritative parenting is what we're shooting for. And when parents use an authoritative style, they explain things to their child and take the time to listen to them. Authoritative parents reason with their children, although they may not agree with them on all points. And authoritative parents are their children's leaders and guides. So yes, you're going to be a friend, but your main job is to be a leader and a guide and to support them, to make them feel seen and safe and soothed and secure. And it's your job to set important rules, okay? The rules that aren't excessive, they're clear, they're consistent, and they're not arbitrary. They're rules that you can explain why we have this rule. Authoritative parents expect much from their children, but they allow them to help. They allow them to help set the goals. And I would say, even as the kids get older, the kids can help set the rules so that they have buy-in too. That's another beautiful way to show respect to a child, that you care about them, their opinion about certain rules, and what the consequences might be if they break the rules. But the rules have to be there. The expectations have to be there. So authoritative parents have high expectations and a high level of response to their child, and they encourage independence and autonomy. So imagine that. Imagine it's basically respectful parenting. It's, hey, I am the leader here, but I respect you as my child. These are the expectations, but these are the confines. You're safe here. You know, I'm not going to ignore you, and I'm here to love you and support you. So the best new habit that I would suggest that you start if you want to get a grip on the disrespectful behavior is to start having family meetings or coaching sessions with your kids to talk about new rules or reinforcement of some established rules or goals, you can call them, or boundaries, whatever language feels comfortable for you as a parent. There's no one right way. And then the language that you think your children might be most responsive to. And then to encourage them and tell them why ask them what they think. And then when they tell you what they think, repeat back to them what they just said. Oh, okay. You know, you don't want to go to bed at 8:30 because you like to spend 15 minutes doing blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, our bedtime's going to be at 8:30. So I'm going to suggest that you shift that back at 8:15 to start doing what you need to do so you're ready at 8:30. And if you want some help from me, just let me know. I'm here to help you. So you see what I did right there? I listened to it, and then I repeated it back, and then I held my boundary. All right. So now setting these boundaries is really important. It's that expectation that we have and attentiveness. So setting boundaries that make sense are important for safety. We can talk about that with our kids, and for our parenting values. So I see those as the two main reasons why we set boundaries: safety and our parenting values, what we hold important to us. These aren't moral values necessarily. They're just what's important to us, whether it's practicing piano because music's very important, or whether there's a variety of things, or family time, whether it's walking the dog together because that family time is important and supporting, you know, our whole family life. So I want to give a couple examples here of things, real life things that I've dealt with my clients that I think demonstrate ways that we can work towards a change in disrespectful behavior. So let's take the example of fighting in the car, because I have clients who have toddlers who do this, and I have clients who have teenagers who do this. And this is just an example of what I think is, what I know from experience is very, very effective. And it sets the boundary, and it also lets kids really realize, oh, okay, I can't get away with this. I'm not in control here. There are rules, and they're here for a reason. So let's say you say, we're going to have a little meeting and we're going to talk about something. We have too much fighting in the car, and it's not safe for me to drive when you are fighting with each other or yelling. It's not safe for me to drive if I'm yelling over you to try to get you to quiet down or calm down or stop hitting each other. So I want you to know what's going to happen. What's going to happen is if I hear that things have gotten too loud, I'm going to say things are too loud. And if things don't stop, I'm going to pull to the side of the road and I'm going to stop the car. And I'm just going to sit there and wait until things are quiet so that it will be safe for me to drive. Now, you have control over this because you're driving the car. And you have to take a breath and realize, okay, if we're late, we're going to be late. But the most important thing is that this stops. One or two times of doing this, the kids are going to get it. And they can't blame you for being late or whatever, because you gave them the warning. They've had control over choosing whether they fight or not. So the two benefits of this are you're modeling good behavior around safety in the car and safety in general, but you're laying down the law. No, I'm not going to fight over this. I'm not going to be part of this. We pull over, I wait. I can wait longer than you can. And you don't have to say that, but you can say it to yourself. I want you to ground yourself if this happens. If this is something that happens for you that you notice, ground yourself and just think, I can wait. What's most important is that it's quiet here. And you're setting that. Now you have to be consistent with these boundaries. That's another way. When we're not consistent, sometimes that's when disrespectful behavior comes in. Again, our kids aren't feeling really safe. They're not, so they sometimes act out. Another example, usually this is for parents with younger kids, is the teaching our kids good manners. And the first way to do that is with please, yes, please, no, thank you. I think this is a wonderful, I've seen this work beautifully. It takes time, it takes consistency to say, would you like this? And if they say yes, now mostly I do this in the home. I suggest that my parents do this in the home, or in a supermarket or something. And if they're like, yeah, and you can say, was that yes, please, or no, thank you? And you can say it in a way that's non-judgmental. So it's not like, now, was that yes, please, or no, thank you? Speak to your child the way that you would speak to your mother, or I know you wouldn't say, was that yes, please, or no, thank you, mom? But, you might. And the point being, it's a matter of fact thing. What we're trying to do is just develop a habit. And the beautiful thing about yes, please, and no, thank you is that eventually sometimes you'll hear just please or thank you, and you'll know that it's yes, because it's yes, please, no, thank you. And it's a marvelous thing that you can condition. And then you can also praise them. It's great positive connection. You can say, you did such a nice job of saying yes, please, or you did such a nice job of asking for that in the right way. But it's holding an expectation for our kids. So those expectations can really be, important for the success of this. And so the last example I'm going to give before I open it up for your questions is mostly, now this would be with an older child. Let's say it's garbage night, and that is one of their chores, or maybe that's their only chore, is to put out garbage on the night before. And they're forgetting, okay? They're busy with other things. Maybe you come up and, say, hey, just a gentle reminder, it's garbage night. And suddenly your child is wailing on you and say, get out of my room. I don't want to put out the garbage. You put out the garbage. I'm not your slave. And you'll be like, whoa. Now, here's the thing. Let's stay on task. Anytime your child is disrespectful, handle the issue that you're trying to get done there and deal with the disrespectful behavior later. In other words, maybe it's not the time to say, how can you speak to me that way? You're going to be going off to college in 2 years. You're going to be going out in the world. You can't speak to people that way. How did I raise you to be like this? That's very tempting. And I've done that myself. But let's stay on task, which is, okay, wow, you've got some big feelings going on there. And because I hate you often means I've got other stuff going on, right? We know our children don't hate us. That's hard to hear, you can say. So you get that distance a little bit. You don't take the bait. That was rough for my ears to hear. Okay, well, it is garbage night, so why don't you, I'll hold that for a little while and walk away with it. And, you can come talk to me if you want to talk, but I would like you to, thanks in advance for putting the garbage out before 9 p.m. tonight. And then you can smile, say, I love you, and walk away. Stay on task of what you're asking them to do, because that's all a distraction. If they're starting to rev up and yell at you, stay on task. They will get it done 90% of the time. They will actually go and do it. And then you can say, thanks for doing that. Let's spend a minute tomorrow talking about the way that you spoke to me. I expect you to share your feelings with me about what you're feeling in a respectful way that we can discuss, or just say, hey, I got a lot going on right now tonight. Is there any way, could I do something else for you tomorrow? Could you do this for me tonight? So there are opportunities here in this holding the boundary, holding the expectation, high expectation, but also checking in with your child. What is it that's going on with them? All right. So that is what I'm going to leave you with a quote from a book that it's an oldie but a goodie. Okay. It's called Get Out of My Life. But first, could you drive me and Cheryl to the mall? And it's by Anthony Wolfe. And I loved this book when I was raising my kids, but it's still very, very good stuff in here. And this sort of touches on the thing I was just talking about. This is the quote I'm going to end with. Getting even, getting in the last word, not letting them get away with it, teaching them a lesson. In the realm of child raising, these measures almost always assume disaster. Can't we just drop it? Leave it there? End it? We're adults after all. But apparently this is very difficult. So this is, I'm gonna stop there. The point being, model the way you want to be. Don't engage. Stay to the point. Have the expectation, high expectation for behavior, but discuss it with them. All right, let's open up for more questions. So Sheila, I think that, again, I think I might need a little more information here than what you've given me right now. Do you want to unmute and talk a little bit more about this? Please feel free to do that, or anybody else. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask me any questions that you have.
Yes, thank you. This is Sheila.
Oh, hi, Sheila.
Hi, and I've enjoyed what I've heard so far. So he did not always have temper tantrums when he was younger. Very respectful, no falling out and all that. Once you set limits, like even in the store, if you, before you go in and you say, well, we're not going to buy anything today, no toys or anything like that. He was fine with that, whatnot. And for the most part, when he's out in public, he is fine. He has no issues at school. His teachers talk about how, he's a great student and everything. But in the last, I would say 2 years, he has started to act out at home with his mother specifically.
So you are not his mother?
I am not. His grandma.
Okay. Oh, I love working with grandparents. I have a few clients who are grandparents.
Yeah.
Very satisfying. Okay. So he's acting out with his mother.
Yes. And so when she tells him no, for whatever it may be that he's asking for, that is when he starts just repeating, so I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it, and then it goes from that into, maybe crying, maybe saying disrespectful things. And sometimes it's gotten to the point where, he'll like throw something, toward his mother or at his mother. And he's never, ever behaved like that before. So, of course, it's very upsetting.
Yes, it is. And there are a lot of strategies and that I would suggest that could be very effective in this situation. And I would feel comfortable talking to you, as the representative of this situation, if your daughter were open to hearing the strategies that you and I talk about, that she could try. In a nutshell, what I would talk about, if she were my client too, I would be asking, how much time is she able to spend with him during the day, and what does that time look like? What kind of time do they have together? I would say, too, that just as an experiment, try 1 week where she actually doesn't use the word no, but finds different ways to say no. So if he says, I want 2 cookies, and she could say, you know what? I'm not going to let you have 2 cookies right now. I can't let you have cookies now, but I can let you have a banana. So and then, to stick to her guns, but just saying, I can't let you do that, but I can let you do this. So are there alternatives? I can't let you do this, but I can let you do this. And then he goes, no, I really want that. And you can say, and then she can, I call it get in it with him, with her son a little bit, which means, I know. Isn't that frustrating when you can't have what you want? You really, really want cookies. But you know what? We just brushed our teeth and it's almost bedtime. We're not going to have cookies now, but I know it's so frustrating. And we can get in it with them. Maybe even make them laugh. Okay? And then that can be another way to get to the point where he doesn't actually get so angry. So, and then the other thing I would say too is make sure that the 6-year-old has enough choices in his day. And these are choices that his mother will offer. So she's comfortable with the choices, but the fact is it's a moment of connection. So even in the morning, is it going to be the yellow shirt or the blue shirt? And she looks at him like she can't wait to see what he decides. And he goes, yellow shirt. And then she can say, good choice, whatever choice he makes. But it's a moment of connection. So it's not just getting them out the door and stuff. It's taking those moments. I care what you think. I'm offering you a choice. You get to decide. So he feels like he has a little more control over his life. If he does feel that way, some of the disappointment when he doesn't get what he wants will be buffered. Do you know what I mean, Sheila?
Yes.
Okay. Was that helpful? I hope.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
All right. Well, contact me. You can find me on the app and make an appointment with me if you'd like to talk further about this.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, all right. Okay. So we've got Ronette. Hi, Ronette. My 15-year-old knows everything. We're old and things have changed. Our expectations are outdated, all spoken rudely and usually following a disobeyed instruction. Example, she isn't allowed to use social media. She did anyway. We took her phone, lots of tears and screaming. We've forgotten what it's like. We're ruining her life, etc. Yes, 15-year-olds are a handful because they don't have as much autonomy as they see some of their older friends are driving. Their bodies have changed. Everything is it's hard being 15, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's hard. And this is one of those things I talked earlier about having family meetings or just having coaching sessions, like even on the walk with the dog, and say, hey, I want to spend 5 minutes talking about something because I've got an expectation here that I have. We're going to expect, I know you want to be on social media. So this is another thing. She's probably one of the few 15-year-olds she knows who's not on social media. So for a parent to have some good reasons around this, it doesn't surprise me that she used it anyway and that her phone was taken away. And frankly, that's a natural consequence as long as she understands that. If the 15-year-old, your 15-year-old knows that that's what the rule is. And if she's caught, on social media that the phone will be taken away, that she made that choice. It's just really hard. So again, getting in it with her a little bit and saying, hey, I know it's really hard. We didn't have social media when I was your age, but let's talk about this. I mean, another thing too is some kind of some kind of compromise would, that's respecting her feelings about it. Get curious. Say, what is it about social media that you really like? Another thing is what platforms do you like best? If you could be on one social media platform, what would it be? Why? Why do you like that? I'm going to suggest, Ronette, that you check out a website called screenagersmovie.com, I think it is, or sign up, schedule a 15-minute session with me if you to, and I can talk more about this, but ScreenAgers is a wonderful resource. It talks about the challenges. It's good for parents and kids. It's 2 documentaries. They're 1 hour each. And anyway, or you can message me on the app if you want to and ask me more questions. I'm happy to share that app with that website with you that can give you some tools on how to approach this with your daughter in a very that's fair for both of you, that doesn't stress your relationship more right now. Does that help you? If you want to unmute, you can certainly ask me something else or give me some feedback, but I hope that's helpful. Just hang in there. And okay. So what other questions do you have out there? Or questions about what I said. If there's anything that you want clarification on, please let me know. Or if you want me to say something again, or if you disagree with something that I've said and you want to discuss it a little bit more, and I'm happy to tell you, why I'm coming from the place I'm coming from. So I would just love to have some dialogue. So please feel free to unmute yourself or write something else. Okay, we've got Kabrisha. Hi, Tina. Any information on helping my 3-year-old toddler with his tantrums? We had a speech delay and we enrolled him into speech therapy. His dad is currently battling brain cancer. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is a lot for you right now. For a year. And we understand our son wants to interact with his dad and not just mom. Dad is constantly in pain and on treatment. I'm completely lost on how to help our family. Oh my goodness, you're going through a catastrophic time. That's what this is. It's a very, very hard time. And I would say, I would love to help you with this. And I would encourage you to schedule a free session with me. 15 minutes with just you and me talking could be very helpful. 3-year-olds really that's when they really start to want independence. And they also really start being very expressive and they want choices. And so when you say we had a speech delay and we enrolled him into speech therapy, so he has a speech delay. He's in speech therapy, but there are games that maybe your husband and your son can play. There are ways that to draw together. So they take turns. Let's say you fold up a piece of paper into different sections and your son can start by drawing the head, and then maybe your husband, even if he's lying down and can use his hand, he does the shoulders and the body, or they do that for chickens or for a funny make-believe animal. Or they can listen. Another thing that I highly recommend is that they listen to stories together. So that is wonderful for brain development for a 3-year-old, is because then they have to make the pictures in their head. So if your husband isn't comfortable reading to your son, which of course I would recommend if he is, because that's a wonderful way to connect, your husband could read something he's more interested in, like a chapter book. Your 3-year-old is old enough to listen to some of those stories, like Anne of Green Gables, or, just being next to his dad would be helpful. But I would recommend also considering audio books where they just tuck in together and they listen to a story together for a while, even if it's 10 minutes. But contact me if you'd like some more suggestions. I'd be more than happy to help you with this. Okay. All right. Anna says, how to talk to a 17-year-old about recent fight and disrespectful behavior in a way that is friendly and want to create a deeper wedge, or without creating a deeper wedge, I think is probably what you're thinking. Okay. I've got a couple of ideas here. This happens, and we make mistakes and we say things we don't want to. One of the things I think is really wonderful, I don't know if your 17-year-old is a boy or a girl, and it doesn't really matter, is a letter, a note or a letter. And I would suggest even getting something, it doesn't have to, you don't want it to make it look too, formal, but just like a loose leaf notebook. And you write in the first page of the notebook, keep the cover open and put it on your 17-year-old's bed. A letter is a marvelous way for you to just reflect. And I think handwritten is more personal and more effective than typing something out. Even if you cross things out, it doesn't matter. Because then what sometimes happens, and it makes it easier for the kid to do this. So your 17-year-old might read this, and then they'll turn a page and they might write something back to you. It might not be quite as warm and fuzzy as yours is to your 17-year-old. But that doesn't matter because you're modeling love. You are loving your child and you are modeling an apology. I am sorry that I said what I said. You are modeling moving forward and wanting connection. And then the child might, whatever they say back, the point is it's communication. And then you hold on to that notebook for the next time this happens and you write something else, or you show your 17-year-old where you're putting the notebook so they can pull it out and maybe write something to use sometime. Eventually you will integrate talking into this in a way. You'll ask, well, tell me more when they're telling you something. And then you're going to, that wedge is going to close up and you won't have it so much. But that's one way to do it. The other second piece of advice I have with talking to them about a situation that just passed is to, wait until things are calm and then say, hey, I love that it's so calm right now. And but there's something I want to talk to you about. But since I don't want it to become a big deal, I'm going to set my alarm on my phone for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever however much time you think is reasonable and that your child has and that you have. I'm going to set it for that. We're going to talk for 5 minutes. And then when the alarm goes off, we can stop. If you really want to keep going and we're doing it in a respectful way with each other, then we can keep talking. But I'm not going to ask you to talk with me more than 5 minutes right now. I just want to start the conversation with you. And so that's another great way to do that, is to set a timer. So I hope that was helpful. Okay. And yes, his dad has taught him, this is Kibrisha, how to count and write his ABCs. We read and enjoy coloring. He'll be 3 in March, but he tries to pull dad out of bed and cries. Okay. You know what? That's age appropriate. This is challenging for you, but we got to give the little guy a break. I'll usually go to my son's level and say, I understand you want daddy to play, but how about we go outside, or you can help mommy make lunch. So that's great. I will definitely book a session. Okay, wonderful. I look forward to that. I want to get on to Anita too, but I love how you said that. And then in that moment, I would give him a choice right there. I understand you want daddy to play. Daddy is so much fun to play with, isn't he? I love daddy too. Okay, so you get in it with him. But how about we go outside and you have a choice. Do you want to kick the ball or do you want to run around the house? And you wait for him to answer. Okay, and you have that connection. And help mommy make lunch. Again, choices. Beautiful. It's sort of a connect and redirect. Okay. All right. And great. All right. So I think we have a couple more minutes here. If there's anybody else who would like to ask a question, but this is all good. I mean, you guys are such wonderful parents. You know what you're doing. This is all just tweaking, this is just making you feel you're not alone in this, because you're not alone. I've been through this. I've been through a lot of challenges, and it's just sometimes nice to go, oh, okay, that's a new strategy. I'll just try not saying no for a week and finding a different way to do that. Or I'll remember to give more choices, or I'll remember to connect when I ask my child what they want. So anyway, I think we have time for one more question. If there's somebody else who wants to unmute or write something in the message, I'd be happy to address that. Anybody else? All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. It's been my honor to speak with you today, and I hope that it was helpful. And I hope that you'll reach out to me if you have any questions about what I talked about, or you'd like to talk further. I'm here, and you can locate me on the app and find out more about me on tinakinard.com. And I hope that everyone has a really healthy, happy new year. Okay, we've got this. It's hard, but we're in it together, and I'm here to help. So thank you very, very much. I'll stay here in case anybody has one last minute or two or comment. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed out. I think we will let this play out for a couple more minutes until it's done. Tammy, thank you. Thank you for being here. And Anna, Merry Christmas to you as well. Yeah. Oh. You guys are great. So just remember with that respectful behavior to stay on point, set the expectations for your kids, what you expect from them ahead of time. This is important to us. I'm going to help you learn how to do this. If they say something awful, whoa, that's surprising. That kind of hurts my ears to hear. Is something else going on here? Get curious. Don't try not to take it so personally. At all costs, the response of we don't speak that way to each other can come out, but maybe not right away. Not the first thing. Get curious. Oh boy, you must really be feeling crummy right now to say that to me. Ooh, tell me what's going on. Or, you know what? That was hard to hear. I'm going to go away for a few minutes and then I'll be back. And if you want to put out the garbage while I'm gone, that would be great. Thank you very much. But you take time for you. I'm going to say that it's really important that parents take care of yourself. Okay, remember the oxygen mask? Put it on yourself before you put it on your child. Take care of you, because if you're taking care of yourself, you won't, those things, when the kids say things like that to you, they won't bother you quite as much, because you'll say, hey, this is something they're dealing with. This isn't me as an opportunity to get resentful or unload. Keep yourself moderated. Keep yourself calm as you can, and focused and confident. You've got this. It's all good. All right, folks. It's been a pleasure. Tammy, thank you. Take care. Take care, everyone. And have a great holiday. Bye-bye.